Peskies Pest Control. Put your bugs on the run. Call 205-470-8161.
Hey, so here on the Peskies Pest Control Podcast, we are going to talk about the nastiest, grossest ant in Alabama, and that is the Argentine ant. It's gross. It crawls over sewage and poop and gets in people's food sometimes, and it just causes dysentery. It's just as simple as that.
Among many other things. I'm sure there's probably some E. coli, salmonella, and all that in there too.
Look, dysentery is just, it reminds me of like Oregon Trail. Remember that game, Oregon Trail? It's like, what'd you die from? Dysentery.
I think everybody died from dysentery on that game, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very common theme, apparently. But anyway, no, the Argentine ant definitely a very prolific ant in terms of size, colony size and whatnot, that originally came around from Argentina and basically South America, very large area of South America, and was very likely introduced, because of world trade, shipping and trade routes and that sort of thing. Like most of our very invasive pests are introduced to other countries.
It's crazy to me how most rats, bugs, other animals have gone over from shipping. I mean, shipping has just transported so many different species of animals from one continent to another. Absolutely.
I mean, when you consider, pests in general and the problems that they've caused throughout history, and then, we all want to be interconnected and trade and all these things, but I mean, it does come with its consequences. It is one caveat to being a more, I guess, unified world in that sense.
Nature.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about some of the physical characteristics of the Argentine ant.
So really it's brown, light brown, kind of blackish colored. Really the biggest thing is you're going to find them around the outside of your structure, your house, leaf debris, large stacks of wood. We always kind of joke about Argentine ants because they wreak havoc once you find a nest. I mean, they just come in super colonies and just come out of the woodwork.
Right. And then when you squish them, they stink.
Yes. The musty odor. Yes. They do emit when you stink them, or when you squish them, they do stink. Yes.
And unlike some ant colonies out there, can be what we call polymorphic, but Argentine ants are monomorphic. So typically they are all one size when you look at them.
Well, and that sounds really boring, but we're trying to do an inspection. Knowing if they're poly or mono is very important because that leads us to what type of ant we have, whether a carpenter ant, Argentine ant, fire ant, Pharaoh ant, kind of going over all the ants.
Right. And, Argentine ants are known to have very large colony sizes. So, and when you consider that approximately 90% of the colony are workers, I mean, they get things done and they get it done in a hurry. So, from the time that they're an egg to the time that they're an adult is roughly around 100 days, give or take, depending upon obviously the colony and weather and all that sort of thing. But by spring, they've got this very large buildup of colony members, and so, I mean, there's even a documented case over in Europe of one colony ultimately spanning 3,700 miles.
That is a long way. I believe it was Italy to, what does it say? Spain?
I don't remember exactly, but it was a very, very long way for one ant colony to have spread.
Yeah, that's wild. They and they super colonize over winter to survive, and then in the summertime they explode.
Right, absolutely. So when they're out and about foraging around, they do prefer sugars, especially like honeydew or sweets. Ants are funny. Most all types of ants can kind of transition and switch their foraging behaviors over based upon, the time of year that it is. So they may go from sweets to proteins and back and forth or what have you. But the primary diet of these ants is something sweet. And when they run out of honeydew, what do they come for?
Well, honeydew and aphids, they're coming for any kind of sweet, sticky liquid or sugary, sweet. What do we all eat in the summertime and, all that? So cookies, cakes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So they're coming for your sweets.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And they like moisture as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the problem with them, though. They're looking for these moist, damp areas. Well, what areas are moist and damp? You're talking about areas with sewage, stagnant water areas, those types of things. And like we said at the beginning, you're talking about the high potential that these insects can cause you and your family to be sick, because everything they touch with their legs that they crawl across, and then they come and they invade and infest your pantry or wherever it is inside your house, and your surfaces, your countertops, things like that. Everything that they've touched before they got to that point is fair game to be placed down on everything that you have.
Well, what's the amount of sewage that you let in your food? What's the percentage that you're okay with?
I would hope my percentage is can you get a negative percentage? Like, but no, 0%. 0% is what I want.
Yeah, and again, like I said, they're nasty. They just blow up in the summer or the springtime, and we're seeing a lot of calls right now on these ants, and they are a booger to control, because just like Travis said, we've got 10% queens, we've got 90% workers. Well, 10% doesn't seem like a lot, but in a colony, 10% is a lot. So we have to kill those queens to kill that colony.
Well, and their activity, their influx of activity, comes and goes. A lot of it depends on what's going on around the outside. In their world, whether it's extremely wet or extremely dry, that can push these ants to, increase their activity. One of the big things, though, that homeowners can do to help themselves, obviously there's pesticides and different things that you can use, but sealing off access points is great. These ants like to run up and down utility lines, service entries, plumbing, things that go inside the wall of your house, HVAC lines, those sorts of things. Sealing up those things, anyone who's listened to us for any length of time has heard me say this multiple times, like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Just doing those little things.
I think I'm going to get you a t-shirt with that on there.
And get it on the wall behind me.
Brody asked me that the other day, and I was like, I don't know, a pound of cure.
You butchered it, didn't you? You butchered my saying.
It's not mine. All to you.
But anyway, helping yourself out just a little bit like that a lot of times will solve some of your problems. Now, granted, they are ants and they can kind of fit into any small gap they want to. And I'm convinced that if all ants pulled their resources together, they could take over the world. But
and carry you along the way.
They could. They're very strong. But yeah, an ounce of prevention is totally worth a pound of cure in some of these situations.
Well, and sealing up your house is great too, but I know we've talked about too is the environmental factors around the home, major water sources that are going to draw these guys in. I mean, even sealing up a home, just like Travis said, your home has to breathe, so you can't seal every inch of it or it would just mold and fall apart. So getting rid of the firewood, like I talked about, everybody's kind of cleaning up their yard right now, raking all that old pine straw out, which is no fun, and it makes it more expensive, but it's kind of important on a pest control level, because you're getting all that nasty gunk out of those beds right next to your house, and you're kind of starting over fresh and giving it a fresh environment. So just things of that nature can stop ants, in their tracks or having a nesting site.
Yeah, and they are notorious for nesting in things like potted plants.
Oh, yeah. And 8 inches deep. I mean, rocks, potted plants along the driveways. And, they're really not so much of a stinging or, biting nuisance. They're just a lot of them.
Yep. They're large colonies, very invasive, and just can make you and your family sick. So definitely not
dysentery.
With dysentery. Yeah. Because we're all on the Oregon Trail. But definitely not something that you want running around your property.
Google Peskies Pest Control Montgomery.